I need to get some kind of lighting up there. But,
This is fine.
This cabinet belonged to Dr. Hartman, who is Grace Kenny's husband's dad, and was in the basement of the library, and they needed to make room for more of a conference room, so they called and asked if we would be able to use it. So we found a place for it, and we really enjoyed being able to fill it up. These, Ron Ray and his wife gave us this full set of buildings that were made at the Dolly Toy Company. Yeah.
I take it Dolly Toy was one of the biggest employers in town?
It was at one time, just closed up a few years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
But everybody, I know we had some of those at my house at Christmas time, so they were very popular. One of the other things we have is 19 volumes of these, and they are the police logs. That's when the police department was downtown, and when the fellows would come in from their tour of duty on the police department, they would write down the different things that they did while they were on duty. They're very interesting to read, some of the funny things that went on in Tipp, and some things not so funny, but we have the 19 volumes, and they're here to be read. Very interesting. We do have our military display. We go from World War I over to Mike Jackson in the Vietnam War.
I know Mr. Jackson.
I should have not walked in front of you.
That's all right. I can cut you out.
Okay. One of the things that we find interesting, Ron Ray also loaned this to us, and this is one of the shelves that men that were being rehabbed from injuries and so forth. This is how they would spend some of their time, by carving these. So it's a beautiful piece of work that some gentleman did to pair it on it.
I've seen some of that before, but not as
Not that
intricate.
big, right.
When we really got aggravated, we'd get out our cans of Brasso, and it's the stuff you use to clean that brass on our uniforms and stuff. This is what I'm referring to, the brass. Okay, and we'd spend hours just sitting there putting that on, waiting for it to dry and rub it off, make it shine real heavy. Yeah.
Well, we have a number of items, thanks to people that have donated to them. This is our little telegraph thing. The kids like to play with this. This is given to us by Mr. Bear, who just passed away a year or two ago. He has a very interesting story to tell. When he was in World War II, they were in Germany, and they were camping out, and it was Christmas Eve, and a fellow came in with a little tree. So they set it up, and some of the Mr. Bear hadn't been, but some of the others had been drinking heavily. So they were partying, and they said, well, we need a tree. So the guy says, okay, in the morning when we get up, I'll take you to get a tree. So in the morning when they got up, this guy took Mr. Bear and another fella to where he got the tree. And before he walked over where the trees were, they had a little sign there that said that it was a minefield. So this gentleman at night in the snow had walked in, gotten a little tree, brought back, and was in a minefield and didn't know it. So.
Well, I didn't tell you, but I was a tank commander in my day.
Okay.
So
wow.
we used stuff on our tanks to just push the mines up and away from us as we went through. We put a big blade on the front. So we didn't worry about minefields.
Right.
But most of the time,
this guy was lucky to get in and out of a minefield.
Yeah, most of the time those minefields were designed for infantry guys.
Right.
So.
Well, right. So, excuse this here. So this is just various items in here. This is from the Kilgore Company, and it was out where A.O. Smith is now, and they build all kinds of flares. They had a number of government contracts, so these are some blueprints of some of the things that they made. They also made the pull match, which the kids find quite interesting. It has little cartridges in it, such as this.
What is it?
It's called a pull match. It's an ashtray, and then you just pulled your match down. And of course, now these are too old to light, but you had your light and your ashtray all in the same thing. They were known for that. They also made caps for caps guns.
I bet I fired some of those caps.
Oh, I know I did, because all of us kids had cap guns.
Yeah.
And so this is Mr. Eichmeyer's. You might want to read off of that.
Helmet and nightstick belonged to Henry William Christian Eichhoff. They called him Christ with a short I.
Chris.
He was a Tippecanoe police officer from 1890 to 1909. And you're going to see, folks, I'm going to do a video, historical presentation on him, because they showed something in a parade on July 4th that I'll keep a secret until I tell you later.
This is tell you a little bit of, to impress upon you a little bit the importance of the Kilgore. This is a security force that they had because they had so much confidential government contract work, so they had to have a security force to make sure everything was safe. I don't know if you can catch this or not, but on this is 4th Street. This is a Dolly Toy, and this is where Mr. Mosier had his a coal yard. A number of other things on here. This is the Kilgore where A.O. Smith sits now. I guess it's not A.O. Smith now either. But you can see there are a lot of little buildings. That's because most of the stuff they worked with was highly inflammable. So they worked in small buildings so that if anything happened, they had a mishap, then it was just one small building went up, not a whole great big building. So that's why they had so many different buildings. This is our invaluable thing. We were able to purchase this through funds donated to us by the Tipp Foundation. Should I get on the other side?
You're okay. No, you're fine.
Okay, excuse me. And we've been able, all these things that are on here, there's no way we would have room for them to hang on the wall. So by having this, we're able to have all this information out where people can get to it and see it. So we're very appreciative of the Tipp Foundation and the help they've given us in many different ways. This is the old go-kart track out on Shoup Road.
Is it still there?
The track is still there, but the grounds are overgrown and the property's for sale. But Mr. Scharf had it. This is Mr. Scharf's son. Very interesting reading here.
Yeah.
And here's about our Veterans Memorial.
I gotta tell you something about this, and you folks in town don't even know this. I recorded this ceremony and parts of other things related to this through the Arbogast Buick. They helped fund this memorial.
Yes, it's beautiful. They did a wonderful job on it.
I've got it up on the website now, the movie.
Okay. So anyway, we're able to put things up here that we wouldn't be able to have on display if we didn't have this to put it on. So it's invaluable.
Well, I left all those at home. I'm sorry, or I would have brought you one.
And here's our Tippecanoe tumbleweeds that use the horse out there, the pommel horse out there. So
Now, the horse you got out here in the front belonged to Colonel Rouser, right?
that's over at the post office, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. I'm in the wrong spot.
So this is, again, just, this is a picture that Roger Haas painted from a picture that had been, an actual picture that was taken in 1898. And this is the Klingon family. They owned the livery stable, which later became Macy's Garage, and of course it's still over there now. It's called the Is-It Company now. It's painted blue. But Mrs. Klingon is one of the ladies in this photograph, and her daughter was Helen Dodds. And anybody that went to Tipp City High School for many years had Helen Dodds as their English teacher. So we also have the buggy whip that is in the picture, which would have been manufactured here in Tipp City at the whip factory down on East Main Street.
Okay.
So we have a number of old phone books that we find interesting. This is 1906, and I'm always amazed that there were this many people that had a phone in 1906. But one of the things we find, we have this is the Ida Miller. There's a two rings on 111 would be Ida Miller, a farm. Here's one that's a grocery. Here's one that's a ticket office. And here's an implement store. So instead of an address, they just put who you were if it's a residence.
Yeah.
It's kind
And
of
they actually had
interesting.
an operator that did all this, huh?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then we had a few presidents that visited the United States, or visited Tipp City, Ohio.
And I take it this is it?
This
the
is
presidents, okay.
Yeah, they're over here. Yeah, this is the Zion Lutheran Church honor roll in 1942, and this is a lot of Carl Kessler, and there's a lot of names on there people would recognize. But yeah, these are presidential visits. Start with Governor Taft, Howard Taft, and these pictures were taken on the corner of 5th and Broadway when the cannon was still there. You can tell that by the houses that are in the background. And this was 1911. And then we had Ronald Reagan's train came through, and then George Bush was here. So.
All right,
This,
so.
this little shawl here, this little shawl and hat, they were worn by Mrs. Nunlist, who had her husband had the hotel over here in Bar, owned a hotel at the main. Let's see. They were worn to a campaign rally in Springfield, Ohio, for the election of President Lincoln in 1860. So they're very old. It's very, very fragile, very fine material. But
I can picture my grandma wearing something like that back in that day. She was born in 1900. Unfortunately, she passed in 1969.
And our drinking fountains, these are the drinking fountains that were located downtown. One of them was in this picture where the brick streets are, taken at night, and you can see one of the drinking fountains. The other one was over on the corner of 3rd and Main. And then on the southwest corner of 3rd and Main. Everybody rode their bike downtown, had to stop and get a drink of water. So, so when they redid the streets, they gave us the drinking fountains. So, and this is our...
Got a lot of history here.
We do. This is John Clark, and this is his original home, which is now the home of the Eagles. This is a back view of it when he was there.
Mr. Clark was the
He
founder,
was the founder
right?
of Tipp City,
Okay.
right. He had the foresight to know what was going to happen when they were putting the canal through. So.
Okay, so let me see if I got all this straight. Besides all the history in here, that's much older than I am. You need volunteers.
Well, we're doing pretty good, but we are always glad to have anybody. And members, just people that, because most of us are getting older, we need some new blood, like every other organization. You might want to film just a minute in the Grace Kinney room.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. So this is our Grace Kinney room, and all these green boxes were her information that she has written for us, and they've been invaluable. Bob Bartley is our resident historian, and he has done many hours of research already through these books. So she wrote those all up by hand.
Now, are they, when the citizens come in to use the museum here, can they access this stuff?
Yes, right. We have it. That's what he's doing right now. And they also have a full set over at the public library. So if we're not open, they can be accessed at the library at the time the library is open. Those shelves over there are biographies of different families that they have given to us. These two drawers, this is a Main Street houses and buildings that one of our volunteers has put together. It's pictures and history of the buildings and businesses. And these are the other streets in town.
Okay.
So we try to have, when somebody buys a house and they want to come in and find information, we hope we have. If not, we tell them, when you get the information, bring it to us so we have a file.
Okay. Great. Is this a roster of members of the Historical Society?
Has been through some of the
What's the number up
years.
there? One?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
These are our obituaries. They start in
that's what we're talking about.
1985 and come up to the present time.
I
So,
don't know that.
and these are the files we'll find
300
them.
lost.
So if
Yeah.
anybody, sometimes if we can't find a house, we can find information by looking up an obituary of the people that lived there.
Okay.
One other thing that people find very interesting, will be in your way here again.
That's all right.
A little lady that lived down on Evanston Road did this collection. She's made all these scrapbooks. I believe there are 19 of them. Her name was Della Knoll. And they're all kinds of newspaper clippings of Tipp City people, West Milton, Laura. But if you go through here, if you're my age or so, you will recognize the people in here.
Yeah.
And traffic accidents, unbelievable.
First name I can't remember.
Jim.
And of course, during the war years, she has a lot of pictures of the fellows who were off in the military. So you could spend hours in here just pouring through these old scrapbooks. They've been valuable, and we've enjoyed them a lot.
These are all them here?
These are all hers. These are also ones that Penny Finch did from 1934, beginning 1934, and then these are ones that Wilmer Lease has done. They were new.
Well, you're looks like you got more information than the library. Yeah.
Really?
All right.
You have any luck?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.